Hi all, and welcome to episode 23 of What Cause Inspires You. I'm your host, Faith Wang, and today I have with me Monica. Alicia Gupta, my friend and fellow Humanity Rising ambassador, launched the What Cause Inspires You podcast as a way for students to share their service they're doing in their communities. We encourage youth who are making a change to improve the world to speak up about their stories and become a leader in the movement. Monica is a senior at Mission San Jose High School in Fremont, California. In freshman year, she founded the organization FUSD Challenge Success to broaden her community's definition of success. She noticed that students would immediately engage in the rat race of success. Over the past few years, she's grown the team and the organization to encompass not only their annual documentary, but their podcast and panels as well. In addition to her impact at FUSD Challenge Success, she's a part of her school's swim and water polo team, and she loves to hang out with her friends, cook, and write on her own blog in her free time. We're recording this presentation, and we'll post the video on YouTube by Saturday and the audio on Spotify by Friday. Monica, it's so amazing to have you here with us today.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here too.
Thank you. Monica is a local from the Bay, so shout out to everybody listening from California. So are you ready to get started?
Yeah, let's get started.
Awesome. So how did you start FUSD Challenge Success, and what's your mission?
Yeah, so my journey, I think like you mentioned, I started the organization in my freshman year of high school. It was very small back then, and I've grown it to be, it started in my high school, in San Jose High School back then. I just got together, my principal and I, we worked together to create the documentary. And then after that, it was extremely huge success, and it went like, the community loved it, and we loved making it in the process. And so my principal and I decided, like, let's just make this an annual thing. So I took it forward from there, and my journey has been amazing throughout. And the main purpose of starting the Challenge Success organization and broadening it to the entire district, the Fremont Unified School District, that's FUSD, is because in our community, I feel that a lot of people overemphasize grades and test scores to a limit that is like to a verge of it's impossible to not think about like grades and test scores in the moment of relaxation. Like I completely agree, like getting good grades, keeping your A game on, trying your best in class, and trying your best to do on tests, and all of that is definitely important, but to what extent? And to what extent is a question that many students could not answer in my class, in my community. And I feel one of the main things that we wanted our students and our other members to stop doing is defining success, their self-worth, on how much they got on the last test, how much their GPA is, how much they got on their SAT or ACT, how much they got on a certain quiz, or even on a homework assignment. Because in the end, it's just a number, and your success is defined on how you do over a course of a lifetime. There are many, many years in front of you, but in hindsight, like, we don't really see that. And I feel like that's the mission we really want to bring forward to our entire community and throughout the country as well, and the world.
So true. I definitely see that in my own community as well. And it's definitely something that I've struggled to kind of deal with too. You began the organization in your freshman year. So can you talk about how your journey has been since then?
Yeah, sure. So, like I mentioned, we started in freshman year just because I noticed this type of disparity, because I come from Ardenwood, so Fremont, the Fremont Unified School District has 5 high schools. I come from like American area-ish. This is probably a bit foreign to people who are not from Fremont, so I'll try to explain it really quickly. And then 10 miles drive later, you have Mission San Jose High School, where I currently go. So I live 10 miles away from my high school. That's all you need to know. And the cultural difference in those 10 miles is unbelievable. Yeah, of course, like in Ardenwood, where I live, grades are important, but they're not overemphasized like they are in Mission. And I saw this and I wondered, wow, this is definitely an issue that I heard about. Mission is notoriously competitive. It's very, very stereotypically cutthroat. But I mean, on the backside, of course, you have very passionate students, but passionate students who are very, very stressed. So I started this in my freshman year by just creating a documentary, and then it was like I said, it was a huge success. And then after that, I did the second year. In my sophomore year, we expanded our theme. In freshman year, our theme was like, how do you define happiness? How do you define success? What's your definition of being content in life, and going upon like how do community members feel about that. So in my sophomore year, we took it even further, and we took it how maybe peer pressure plays a role in that, maybe how that leans into a bit of academic dishonesty, and what's the root cause of it, And then in my junior year, so last year, we took it district-wide. We took the entire organization district-wide. We had the annual documentary video made encompassing all the high schools in the district. So that was like 5 high schools. And then we kickstarted our podcast, which we've been bringing alumni in from all the different high schools in the Bay Area to talk about their experience post high school and postgraduate. So most of the people that we bring on are like 24 years old or older, and they can definitely speak to their experiences beyond high school. And then we also have our panel and our webinars. So we had like a college advice webinar where like graduating seniors told about their experiences in the application process and what they really felt mattered. And all of them definitely gave importance to contributing enough time to your extracurriculars, enough time to your self-development, because that's what's really going to show through. And then further, we did a couple of panels regarding leadership. And then recently we just did like a college admissions panel. So we wanted to yield to the students who weren't able to maybe get in touch with admissions officers. So we had the UCs come in, some other privates come in. So it was extremely rewarding experience. We got to talk to so many people. And I'll definitely tell all of you to give our podcast a listen after listening to this one.
Awesome. Starting an organization from freshman year must have been a lot. This sounds very difficult. What were some of the difficulties that you faced while starting it?
Yeah, so one of the difficulties that we faced early on in the organization was really getting our message out there, because it's an unusual message. You don't really hear about people defining success on a daily basis or defining happiness on a daily basis. So that was definitely one of the struggles. But once we overcome that, and we were really rolling with the flow, and we were just like going with the entire flow of the organization, we kind of hit COVID-19, which I'm sure everybody noticed how that put a stop on most of their extracurricular activities that were in person. Like, I'm a water polo and I'm a water polo player, and I'm a swimmer. So I definitely know I couldn't be a swimmer anymore. Many of the other activities that I do. And I realized that then we had to turn everything virtual. We had to do our panels, webinars via Zoom. We had to do we started up our podcast, which was a great byproduct of our mission and of the COVID-19 pandemic. Bringing people together via virtual medium is something that's very new, and I hope that we can continue. So those are bit glimpses of some of the difficulties that we face, but it's been a pretty smooth ride so far.
Awesome. I love how you continued through the COVID-19 pandemic and made it something stronger.
Yeah.
I remember you saying something about starting with a documentary your freshman year. Where did the inspiration for that come?
Yeah, so the inspiration for the documentary is really rooted from, again, the mission statement of how success is defined upon how you do in real life. And going back to how everything in high school is kind of driven to go to college, everyone's like, oh, I have to sign up for this club, I have to sign up for that club, and I have to do like 4 APs, or I have to take these many weighted, I have to get like this test score, I have to be like the top of this assignment, yada, yada, yada. And then that's where it kind of stems from. But in the end, I talked to so many people on the podcast recently, and the mission really shone through for that. And I've talked to so many people in general before starting the documentaries, where it really matters what you do wherever you go. So like, you have to just do great, be your best, and be who you are, and be true to yourself. So the documentaries kind of stem from there, is bringing in a unique medium. We didn't really want to do like a presentation, a PPT that wouldn't be accessible later. So even if you go back to our YouTube channel right now, you can see our documentaries. You can rewatch all of them on repeat as many times as you want, and you can still hear our message loud and clear. So that's many of the reasons why we decided to start the documentaries, and why we decided to use this unique medium of a YouTube video.
It's definitely super powerful that you decided to use such a unique way to convey your message. In your documentary and through your organization, you're addressing some pretty big topics like mental health and peer pressure, just to name a few.
Mhm.
And we always hear from the experts on these subjects. So, what do you want us to know about the challenges that students face today?
Yeah, so um, I think students are told um, either by their parents, either by society, either by their peers, or by themselves, really, about going back to the importance of where you go to college. And I definitely think so. Like, as a senior right now, it is very important, as in for fit, not by rankings, but by fit. You need to make sure that wherever you go, you're going to be living there for 4 years, but you want to make sure that you're developing in the process of the 4 years you are in high school. Like from freshman year to sophomore year to junior year, you should be making an effort to do so. And I feel like that effort is kind of, or that growth is stunted when given over importance or over emphasis to grades and test scores. You can't really go out and about and develop the soft skills that you need, like speaking to people. Even like I remember one of the workshops that we had at our school is in 11th grade is this admissions counselor. If you go for an interview, then how you should shake someone's hand. So that's something that we learned. And to implement that, even that skill, you need to have time outside of your bedroom studying, or outside of studying for something. Like, yeah, definitely study, but like give yourself a break, man. So that's something what we need, what I think a lot of students are struggling with today, and one of the challenges that our generation is facing.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And as someone going through the college app process right now, everything you said is super true. And I've tried to keep that in mind, but like you said, a lot of those expectations to go to like a prestigious school definitely looms over. So your message is super important. For those that are pursuing a career in an uncommon field, what would your message be?
Yeah, so I actually have a short anecdote for this. So my friend, a friend of mine, she loves English, she loves literature, and she wants to major in that. Um, but this is a while ago, by the way, for anyone that's listening. It was about like 6 months ish ago. Her parents were really unwilling to let her even consider majoring in English or literature or anything of the humanities. Her parents had immigrated here before the dot-com boom in the early 2000s, late 1990s, and they're very, no, you have to major something in STEM, do like maybe physics, math, computer science. If you want to go into humanities, maybe do like business, marketing, stuff like that, but no English. And she was very, very devastated. She came to me, she said, whoever I talk to says that just like do whatever you want. Your parents, like, yeah, they can't just stop you from doing whatever you want, just like change, just like apply for this. But realistically speaking, you and I both know that's not really possible. You want your parents, one, to be very happy in your decision with you. You want to share that joy. Not only that, like financially speaking, you can't do that most of the time unless you want like a heap of student loans. Um, so I think one of the main advice that I would give to people, and that I gave to her, was sit down, do your research, show your parents that there is a career progression with X major that you want to do, and your parents don't want you to pursue, or show that you are passionate about the subject, that you are passionate to do what you want, and you will follow through on your goals, and you have a goal in mind. Have a civil discussion with them, and I'm sure they'll come around. I mean, our parents just want the best for us, and they want us to be happy. And that's usually the main incentive behind whatever they tell us to do, whatever they want us to do. So, I mean, I think that's the best way to go about it.
It's definitely super important for students to really know, especially now, because I also kind of have an anecdote where like my sister, she wanted to go to art school,
Mm-hmm.
but she ended up getting into a pretty prestigious tech school, and so, like it was her dream to go to art school, but she ended up going to the tech school because my parents wanted her to.
Mm-hmm.
But now after she graduated, she became a tattoo artist. So I definitely believe that your message is true and that like you have to stay to what you love. Um, so, what would your main message be to students who are facing anxiety and stress due to grades and test scores?
Mhm. Yeah, sure. So, what I would say to them is definitely talk to someone who's close to you. Have your mom, your dad, your counselor, teacher, friend, sister, brother, anyone, your dog, maybe someone who responds back, not your dog. Um, and I would tell you to talk to them, tell them how you're feeling, and take a break. Make sure you're taking a break from whatever it is that's stressing you out, whether it's grades or test scores, and really understand that wherever you live or wherever you are, that's not where you're confined to. Um, there's a much bigger world out there that doesn't define you, doesn't define your success based on your grade or your test score. I have a lot of friends who are in college right now, and they tell me about, even though all of them have gone to extremely prestigious universities and they're doing great where they are, they say that we never talk about what we got on the SAT. We never talk about what our GPA was. We just talk in the beginning during freshman year, they would talk about their extracurriculars from high school as a bonding matter, but not really in the comparison of one another. So I think that's the main key thing to keep in mind is that you're living in a bubble at the moment. Wherever you are, like I live in the Bay Area bubble, Faith probably lives in the Chicago-ish bubble, but we all live in a bubble and there's a greater world out there, and whatever you do in life is definitely, and as long as you're passionate about it, you put in the hard work, I'm sure it's going to be fine. So don't really stress too much about it. Like, yes, it is important, but to a certain extent is only something that you can decide.
Yeah, it's a super important message, and I definitely agree. Very important things to keep in mind. So what are some of the projects and events you guys have been hosting? And do you have any that we can expect for the future?
Yeah, so I mentioned this before, but we do have our podcast, and we currently have done, I think, around 14 episodes, I think 14 or 15 episodes, and we've had um, super amazing alumni come on our podcast. We have had like a doctor who went the unconventional route and go to USC, and she's doing great at the moment. We had someone who's going to law school, and she also went the unconventional route. She took like 3 years of a gap, I would say, in the middle, or like a leeway break to figure out what she wants to do in life. And she's going to an amazing law school, and she's starting this year. She's doing great, and she gave some amazing insight on how it is to not only be in college in your undergraduate years, but also to be in the workforce. She worked for a consultant company in between. And furthermore, we've had like people who are doing their masters in CS right now at Stanford. So we have people from a variety of disciplines and a variety of schools and a variety of workplaces. Like people from who moved from Mission San Jose High School area, from the small bubble in Fremont to all the way to the East Coast in DC or Boston. So that if you want to know how the world is outside, or you just want to listen to some like deep insight on life, or you just want to listen for fun when you're like brushing your teeth or doing the dishes, I would 100% tell you go give it a listen. It's an amazing way to learn more about other people's experiences, and you can learn how to implement them in your life. It's we've had alumni come on, and we are currently working on that was our alumni series on our podcast, and we do have a couple of recap episodes of that coming up, and we do have a couple more episodes coming up on a different variety of topics. And for our panels, I think I mentioned this before, but we've had webinars where we brought in students to talk about their experiences in leadership and their experiences in the college application process, and we brought in a couple of admissions officers as well. So those are our panels that we've done. We recently just had one with UC San Diego, and it was an amazing success. It was great. Everybody was able to learn about the university and also ask more specific questions and engage with the admissions officer. We are planning, and we just recently, last week, we shot like a video panel, pre-recorded panel with Dr. Karen Ye she's a psychiatrist, and she's a psychiatrist, and she came on to talk about mental health and maybe its effects in specific to teenage life. And we published that, so that's recent. And in the future, we are expecting to do a bit more events, of course, every month, and continue the podcast. And of course, you can look out for our annual documentary during spring when we'll have that published very soon. So yeah.
Awesome. I'll definitely go give those a listen, and everyone listening, you should too.
Yeah.
They sound amazing. So since your organization is all based off of the idea of creating your own sense of success, what's your definition of success?
Yeah, great question. So my definition of success would really be, I would measure it on how well I think I'm doing in terms of not only like academic, but like emotional, physical, mental health. Like, am I content with myself? How do I feel when I'm going back to sleep? Am I like physically keeping myself active and like engaged? So that's one of the things that I really hold key and hold dear, that you need to keep yourself really up to like up on par of what you've been doing. And I would measure it based on my satisfaction and my content. So I mean, I still have like a good long way to develop my definition of success. So I think that's one of the great things about it, that it's ever changing, and this is what it is at the moment. I'm sure I'll add on to it in the next few years.
I love that definition. And that's very similar to what I hope to be too. I've like just gotten into meditation. I don't know if that's something that you talk about a lot, but I think it definitely helps too. So yeah.
Yeah, I tried it out actually. There was like this app, I forgot
Mm-hmm.
this app that I used, and it tells you to like breathe in and feel like it's like, I don't know, I'm pretty sure you know the name of the app better than I do.
Yeah, I've just been using like YouTube videos, but they honestly help because I get really overwhelmed sometimes, and I think a lot of people use it to just kind of relax. But yeah, I definitely love your definition of success. So how can we get more information about your work, and how can we help you?
Yeah, sure. So for more information about our work, you can check out our Facebook page. So just search up FUSD, Challenge Success, and you can find us. Make sure to like and follow. We also have an Instagram, same FUSD.Challenge Success. We have a LinkedIn page. Just search up FUSD Challenge Success. We have all of these social platforms that we regularly update. Our most updated ones are usually Facebook and Instagram. And we usually post about our events there, podcast episodes, mental health panels. We recently had Dr. Denise Pope, the co-founder of Challenge Success. So we have a parent organization, but we're not really directly affiliated with them. We kind of saw them as inspiration to start. So Dr. Denise Pope from Stanford, Challenge Success. So she came on and gave some tips and tricks on how students and parents can work together to make distance learning effective and successful. So we had a couple of videos about that. You can just find us on our website as well. And yeah, if you want to join, or if you want to help us out, just shoot us an email at fusd.challengesuccess@gmail.com. And I'm sure we'll love to have you on to help us out. If you want to further this mission in your community, please shoot us an email, and we'd love to work with you on that too.
Awesome. So I will also be attaching your organization's Facebook, email, LinkedIn, and the description of our podcast in case anyone has further inquiries, just like you said. Mm-hmm. And your cause is super important, and it's amazing how you're taking a problem you see in your own community and finding ways to work on it. So thank you so much for sharing with us today, Monica.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was a lovely discussion.
Thank you. So I will be posting my email address also in the description of our podcast if anyone has questions about the What Cause Inspires You series, as well as posting the application form to become a speaker. We always love hearing about all the actions youth are taking, just like Monica. And also be sure to follow our Instagram and Facebook pages to stay updated on our scholarship opportunities, future podcasts, and events. Those are all humanity.rising and What Cause Inspires You. And speaking of future podcasts, next week on Wednesday, November 4th at the same time, I will be on with Anukie. Thank you everyone for attending, and we hope to see you again next week's podcast.